So I remember playing that game. I could like fold my skates in half. They were so worn down. My pads had shrunk because I wore Vons, and I was so uncomfortable in my gear. And I'm like, oh my god, I got to play in the NHL tomorrow.
Yeah.
I won't hold you down.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Roundtable podcast presented by Visentin Goaltending. I am your head host, Jamie Phillips, along with my co-host, Derek Visentin, Mike Albanese. And before we get into our banter, we have congratulations is in order for Albo. What is it?
I just recently accepted the goalie coach position with the St. Catharines Falcons in the Gouge.
Well, congratulations.
His first order of business was to fire me. So that's
yeah.
Yeah.
I told the guy that they've been working with for the last couple of years, he's a little off his rocker, and we're going to do things completely different moving forward.
Yeah, you can't have too many external voices.
That's right.
I have a Game 7 Southern Cup loss.
So do I, too.
Almost a couple losses.
I have one as a coach
and I was
and
gonna
a
go in
player.
there year one and just I was gonna go in there year one. I've been grinding for 8 years, no Southies. I was gonna go in there year one and just hoist the cup and make me feel terrible about myself. So I hope it happens because that'd be fun. That'd be sick. So
that is the plan.
Congrats, Albo.
Then he's gonna buy you out of on ice too.
Hey, he wins a Southie, he can have it. It's all his.
Take me a few more years to save up the cash for that.
But you know what? Like, in all honesty, work hard, do a good job, and move up the ladder. And the same thing goes for coaches. It does for goalies. Is if you want to move up the ladder and coach or play at a higher level of hockey, and learn better at your craft. And you know what? You've done that the last couple of years. So I'm excited to see you get this opportunity and what you can do with it. So, congrats, buddy.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to the challenge. I know it's a step up league-wise, and I'm really hoping that it's a step up in every way. I'm really excited. I think mostly what I'm excited about is getting to know the rest of the staff and seeing how they operate.
Yeah, and there's a history of winning there, right? If you're going to coach and you're going to invest time as a coach, you want to go into a program where you have a chance to win every year, because if you surround yourself with winners, then it makes it a lot more fun going to the rink every day, knowing that they're going to put the work ethic in. And as a coach, like we said on this a lot of times, is we're support staff and we can push, but like if the goalies and the players don't have that internal drive, and I feel like in that program, if the kids that don't have that drive, they don't last very long in that program. So it's going to be fun for you to go to the rink every day, and that's something I've done for the last couple of years there. And it was every time I got there, I enjoyed it because the guys that were surrounded me were there for the same reasons.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that Bilby and I actually talked about during the kind of interview process. I made it clear to him. I said, I'm really only looking to go to a team where their priority is winning, because there are some teams out there that are kind of satisfied with going through the motions, right? They don't really expect to do much. They don't really expect to win. They're okay with being kind of mid-tier teams. But I think that the guys that on ice, anybody on ice related, has more of a winner's mentality than that, right? If you're going to do it, you got to have the mentality of, we expect to win every game. And when we don't win, you take a step back, evaluate why, and move forward from there, getting better. So I like that mentality that he shared with me a lot.
I think it's awesome. I'm always excited when guys get to move up leagues, whether it's from a player's standpoint or a coaching standpoint. And like you guys both touched on, the fact that you're going to such a good organization and one with a history of winning and one that's always competitive is going to do so much for your coaching and just your mindset and able to deal with winners. Because like you said, if you're working with guys that are satisfied and complacent, it's a completely different culture than if you're working with players that are hungry and coaches that are hungry. And that's going to rub off on you, so that when you continue to move up in the next step, whether that's it's not tier 2 anymore, but junior A or major junior, or even in that minor pro, like you're going to carry that winning mentality with you, and success breeds success. And like Derek always says, winners win. And to be able to just cultivate that culture is exactly what you want. Like I should have played midget AAA when I was 16. Oh well,
I don't agree with that at all.
You don't think so? I probably should have went to a different junior B
No,
team.
there you go. There's
That, but
that's the answer. It wasn't that because you were ready for junior B. You just, you know what, like you weren't put in the right spot, and that has to do with I'll have to wear some of that. I think your agent at the time has to wear some of that. But you just, you know what, you were ready to play junior B. It's just we didn't get you in the perfect spot, and it didn't work out.
I mean, I got 2 starts. I got my first ever junior start. I was pulled in a 3-3 tie in the third period.
Oh my
You're
god!
lying. You're lying. It was 4-4 tie.
4-4 tie in the third period. Okay, a tied game in the third period.
Tied game, third period, yanked.
Here's a question for you. Have you ever been pulled while your team is winning?
No.
Because that happened to my goalies, I think, was it 3 times this year? We're up 5-3. We're up 5-2. Our goalie gives up a third, yanked.
Was it early in the game? Was it like first period?
Yeah.
Okay, that's different.
So 5-3 game in the first period?
Hey, it's the jungle, buddy. If not the first period, like early second. Or it'll be the last one that the last crazy one that I saw was we were playing a road game in Dunnville, and our goalie was driving himself to the game because he lived in Niagara Falls. So the rest of the team is taking a bus from Dundas, and he's driving from Niagara Falls to Dunnville. And he gets in a car accident on Highway 3 and misses a tree by millimeters. This kid is lucky to be alive. So I go to where his accident. I don't take the bus. I go to his accident spot, pick him up, drive him to the rink. We get him to the rink while the warm-up is going on. So he does not see a second of warm-up, throws his gear on, sits on the bench. We're up 2-0 in the first period. And then our goalie gives up one with about, 8 minutes left. And then he gives up a second one with a minute left in the last minute. And then they put the other guy in for the second period, who did not see a second of warm-up, got to the rink while the warm-up was going on, just got in a car accident in a 2-2 game. And we ended up tying 5-5. And after the game, he said to me, yeah, maybe I don't play after car accidents anymore. But
That's such a jungle story.
As a head coach, you have to recognize that, like, okay, no matter what my starter is doing right now, I don't have the option of playing this guy. He narrowly avoided death. He hasn't seen a warm-up. He usually gets his knee taped, and he didn't get his knee taped, and you know that. But I'm going to throw him in to finish out this game. Like, you've got to have more awareness than that as a coach.
Winning junior C hockey games in December is big business. It doesn't matter that the kid almost died. You gotta stay ahead of Dunnville in the standings.
They were 8 of 8, clearly. And
it's like there's a mindset in head coaches that if you throw in your backup, regardless of car crashes or not, whoever's backing up that night is suddenly going to be game ready to go when you throw them in. Like,
yeah,
no, like when you're a goalie and you for the most part, you have a completely different mindset when you know you're not playing, especially if you're a bona fide starter. Like, that's your night off. You're enjoying it.
Yeah, so that's what it was.
I think if you get into a car accident, your mentality is, I got the night off.
Yeah, I'm just happy to not be wrapped around a tree right now.
Yeah, my legs are still attached to my pelvis. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I guess I have a pretty good story. The complete opposite of being pulled, because we're talking about like not wanting to go in. Only once.
Will not let you out.
Only once in my life has there been a game where I have wanted to get off the bench and save the other goalie. We were in my first year pro. We're playing in Tulsa, and I was a starter, and I was there on my entry level, and I was playing. That was when I started the first 10 games of the season. And we picked up a guy. We picked up a guy like after those 10 games, and he had played pro the year before, his second year pro, and he was he's supposed to like help take some of the duty. And so his first game, he gives up 10 goals.
Oh,
10 goals. And and I'm on the bench, and our coaches are ripping him from the bench. Like, I'm not like, I don't want you to have to go through the editing of this. So they're just like, F
I'm not
you.
editing it.
Yeah, you're like, F you, you're trash. Why did we pick you? Like, you're just
They're
garbage.
yelling this. He's on the ice. And
Over
they're yelling
on the
this.
bench at their own goalie. You're trash. This is embarrassing.
they're
We're not
yelling it
letting
to
you in.
him?
Yes.
Like he's in the crease or like he's over at the bench?
No, he's in the crease. And
Oh
then
my God.
so I'm sitting there, and we're in Missouri, and I remember like I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm looking at the coach after every goal, and like, admittedly, it started off, we were getting pumped, like not his fault, and then the goals started to get really bad, and so I'm there, I'm like, oh my God, just pull him, just put me in. I'm looking at the coach, I'm like, put me in now. Like I was gonna hop the bench and change on the fly with this guy just to get him out of the bench, but then I realized if he got pulled, he's going to have to listen to just get absolutely berated by the coaches on the bench. So it was just the worst situation. I had to listen. I felt so bad. And to cap it off, we played the next night back at home, and I get a shutout. And everyone's happy, and we're like, okay, we're gonna party. Like, hey, like, Hoffy, you coming? He's like, no, I'm done. I'm like, what do you mean? Just like, you're not coming out tonight? Like, I get it. Like, it was a tough weekend. He's like, no, like, I'm done. I'm quitting hockey. Quit hockey.
Wow.
Never played again.
That was his last game?
Last game. Quit hockey. Like, the things that was getting said to him, like, I would have honestly contemplated it too, because like, to have your both coaches, not just your head coach, your assistant coach, just saying those things was like, dude, like, you might as well just stab me in the heart a million times. Like, it would
gutless.
Brutal. And like, that was the only
game he played.
Yeah, he might have played one more before that, but I don't remember. I don't recall. Like, that one sticks out in my mind so much that you're not gonna, I can't forget that. But I was like, that's like really the only time where I've like adamantly been like, I need to get in there, and I don't care if I give up 20. I just can't let this guy go through this nonsense.
This is a perfect segue. This is the first question we got to ask Viz, because our guest today is Mark Visentin. First round draft pick, the Phoenix Coyotes World Juniors 2 years in a row for Team Canada, OHL Goal of the Year. Resume is not too shabby. You look him up. But yeah, let's get Viz on here and we'll ask him about his either worst polling or just not getting pulled and giving up an 11 spot. What's up, buddy?
Oh, just working away on 2 projects that I'm not allowed to talk about, unfortunately. Wish I could.
Oh, awesome. So cool. I go on a podcast, can't talk about any of the cool shit I'm doing.
Yeah, like if I was going to text you saying like if this was like a month from now, I'd be able to talk about one, I think. But
sounds like a repeat customer then.
Yeah.
We'll have to do episode part 2.
Before we called you, we were talking about our either the worst, our best stories we have about getting pulled or being just hung out to dry. So we need to hear yours.
Oh, well, I've been in one famous double pull, which has to be my favorite because I started the game and I was terrible. I was so bad. I think I let in a 4 in the first period, like 4 on 11, something stupid like that, where you're getting pulled after the first. So I thought my night was done until my goalie partner went in and let in 6 in the second period.
Ooh.
And I got to go back in for the third period where I let in one more goal. And
still less than him.
Yeah, we lost 11-1 or 11-0. It was awful. Like, I don't know. For me, like when I get pulled, I have no interest in going back into the game ever.
Yeah.
Because I'm already pissed off enough. And I kind of like had the feeling in the second period when they just kept scoring. I'm like, oh God, I'm going to have to go back in. And it was in one of those rinks where I wasn't even sitting on the bench. I was sitting in the corner.
Oh no.
So I'm literally sitting there having no idea like what's going on the bench at all, which made it even worse.
You ever have to come in for relief when you sit like isolated?
Yeah, I have. Like every time they score, you just kind of look at the bench. You're like,
so do they like wave you over like
like
remotely? You got a walkie-talkie over there?
It
Yeah.
happened to me twice. One time, our trainer had like the earpiece, and then he said, "Philly, you're going in." The other, a player had to skate to the corner, tap on the glass, point at me, and said, "You're going in."
Oh wow.
Oh, it's the worst, man.
Probably though, my one more favorite story is when I had food poisoning when I had a game. And it was on an American holiday, so all the grocery stores were closed and I had no chicken for pregame meal. So I went to a gas station.
Oh,
I bought this ginormous chicken breast, like clearly it was pumped with God knows what to get it that big. And like first period goes by and like my stomach's sore, but it's fine. And then like halfway through the second period, out of nowhere, I'm almost gonna like shit myself. And it was so bad. Like I told the ref, I'm like, literally, if you see me skating off the ice, like I can't hold it. I gotta go. And I swear to God, it ended up being one of the slowest periods ever. It was unbelievable. I don't know how I held it in. And like as soon as the period ended, I could barely skate. I could barely skate off the ice. And of course, I would skate all the way down to the other end and just unleashed for the entire intermission. It was awful.
Did you go back in? Did you play the third?
I did. I barely made it back. Like coach comes in, he's talking to the team. I was just gone the whole intermission.
Yeah.
Oh,
You got to take all your pads off and stuff too.
Everything.
So it's like scrambling.
I
To
have
get.
so many stories about playing sick. I can't believe I forgot. Like when you said that, it reminded me. We'll have to have a whole other episode on that because I think I have a bad immune system, but I was always sick.
Yeah. Like Viz, you must have had to take like everything off, like everything except your skates and pants, basically.
Literally everything. Except my face.
I played with a guy who would take everything off, take a piss, and then put all his gear back on, and that was his intermission. And he was so like slow about it. Like, he would take all his gear off, take a piss, put all his gear back on, and walk back onto the ice. Cool. Strangest thing.
Yeah.
Now, Viz, you were talking about chicken breasts, and you are famously superstitious. Is that correct?
No. Not at
No,
all.
I thought I read somewhere that you used to bring around like a George Foreman grill on the road.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
No,
So
that's Michael Scott, Jamie.
in junior, I was on that. In junior, I was on that train for maybe 2 months.
Oh, so it was. They were really exaggerating the claim.
Yeah, like it was, yeah, whoever published that article maybe took that and blew it a little out of proportion. But my issue was like I ate like a horse. And sometimes in junior and pregame meals on the road, we wouldn't get enough food. And finally, I just started asking the team, I'm like, I need more food because like by the time the game starts, I was starving and I hated playing hungry. So
So
that's,
so not just bringing a Tupperware of food. It was just George Foreman grill.
yeah, I got, if you want an amazing story about food, I got one in the East Coast
Sure.
Hockey. If you want to hear this.
Well, the cheese toast.
of course
let's
we
hear it.
want to
Of
hear it.
course.
This is probably one of the worst road trips I've ever been a part of. It's one of those ones where we had 4 games and you play every other day, but it was all on the road and each trip was a minimum 12-hour drive between cities. So it's the last game of the trip and my goalie partner got hurt. So I played every game and we get to Wheeling, which is a phenomenal city. And we get there like, I want to say like, we get there like 4 a.m. and I wake up at 6 and the fire alarm is blaring. So I've only been asleep for 2 hours. Everyone's outside. It's winter. And then I try to go back in and then I don't know, like the heat was just cranked in our room. So I couldn't fall back asleep. It was too hot. I went out to get breakfast. I waited an hour and a half for a cab because there's no Ubers and everything was closed. So I couldn't go to any restaurants and the cab never showed up and it was an afternoon game. Went to pregame meal, which was like inedible. It was like boiled chicken and terrible pasta. It was awful. So I just went to the gas station. I bought like 4 bags of chips and like 4 packs of beef jerky. I'm like, this is my protein and this is my carbs after literally being depleted from this 8-day road trip. And one of those games where it was 1-0 for us. And I was like running on fumes the whole game and they tied it up with like 10 seconds left.
Oh.
I think you could just see our whole team just like deflate.
Yeah. Let the air out.
And we ended up scoring like 2 minutes into overtime, and I've never been so relieved in my life and so excited just to go home and get.
So you throw up a 2-1 overtime win on bags of chips and beef jerky.
Yeah.
And that didn't make its way into your pregame routine after that.
No.
That would have been a staple for years if that happened to me.
Oh, that.
Oh, like every athlete needs to know, like if you can convince your brain to play on that, I think you'll be fine. So good times. What a league.
What a league is right. Was
What
that
a league
was that
indeed.
when you were in Cincinnati?
Yep.
In the
Yep.
same stall.
I know. I saw that picture. That
Yeah.
was awesome.
I
Berkey,
didn't
the
la-
equipment manager, great guy.
I didn't last very long. I lasted a month and a bit, but it was there. I was there.
The great city.
Unbelievable city.
Yeah.
Did you live in Kentucky when you were there too?
Yeah. Do you live at the Landing?
Oh yeah.
The Ritz at the Landing
Ritz Atlantic.
in Covington?
Oh man. Okay, so like when I was traded there, like so like I got cut from my team in England and I was sitting at home for a month and I was like bummed out. Like I didn't know what was going on. I obviously retired a couple months later, but I was like contemplating retirement. I wasn't happy. So then I get picked up by Cincinnati. I have to drive from Grand Rapids home to get my stuff, and then from from Caledonia another 8 hours to Cincy. And I get there like 2 a.m. My apartment, tornado went through it. I guess the guy who I'm living with just got called up, and he wasn't expecting it, and he wasn't the cleanest person in the world. So at 2 a.m. I get in. I got to start. I just like I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of OCD or maybe just frustration. I just started cleaning, and I just started scrubbing the place out 2 a.m. And then eventually at like 5, I crawled into bed and I was like, I look around. There's just empty walls. There's nothing. It's a classic East Coast apartment. You're sleeping on a mattress on the floor, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I think that was like the nail in the coffin. So that the Landing probably is what did it for me.
The Ritz. Want to hear my first impression of that place?
Oh yeah.
So I was in Nashville's camp. I had a great NHL camp, like probably one of the best camps of my life. Went down in Milwaukee in the AHL, and like even better camp. And I was like, there's no way I'm getting sent down to the East Coast Hockey League. And then sure enough, I did. So I was already pretty sour grapes about that. So I show up in Cincy and I walk into my apartment and it's filthy. Like food caked on the kitchen walls. Carpets haven't been like vacuumed in 2 years and it stunk. And I walk into my washroom and there's this massive cockroach just crawling across the counter.
Oh my God.
And I just like took a deep breath and I'm like, wow, this is great.
Oh, man, I'm glad we're talking. The place I lived at in Tulsa was so bad. They were breaking it. There's like break and enterings weekly. Guys had so much stuff stolen out of their apartment. Like people would walk like the wives would like walk their dogs, and they'd have to like make sure the dogs weren't stepping on like syringes. The year before, one of those TV like cops, those like the shows like that, they had the whole camera crew there with like choppers overhead because someone was running a human trafficking ring out of one of the apartments. It's wild. It's wild. And like that was just scratching the surface. We had like a loft set up. And so one day I was carrying my guitar too, because I thought I was going to be a musician. And I never was. But I was carrying my guitar because I needed to kill some time. And the stair broke, like toast. So I fall down the stairs. I was so close from my guitar hitting the floor and just going straight through my stomach. It went through right my side, almost impaled me. Like, dude, just man, some of them. But then on the other side, when I played in Florida, we might as well have. We just lived in paradise. We lived at a resort. Complete night and day. Like it was a vacation every day. You just had to go show up and practice, and then go home and have pina coladas and White Claws all day. It was so nice.
Yeah.
So what are you doing that we can talk about? Anything cool? How's retired life?
Retired life is finally getting better. Like I finally got some direction, I think, which is cool. I think when I stopped playing, I was in like a 6-month lull of being like depressed as shit. And then, so like right now I got a business partner. So I'm at his office here in Burlington, which is cool. So I can get out of the house because no one else is here and work. And 2 exciting projects coming up. One should be launching in 1 to 2 months. The other one in like 6 to 12 months. The other one is like about hockey, which is kind of cool and exciting. So I'll make sure to tell you guys about it once it's up and going.
And did I hear you're doing? Like business wise, you're doing something with hockey players that retire about finding life after hockey. Is that true?
No, I
No.
haven't. Actually, there's
Where are
one
we getting
guy.
our bad information from?
Well,
Yeah,
that
I don't
was
know.
that you got that from me because I remember Viz and I had talked and you had mentioned whatever LeBron James or something as part of a company that helps with transition to.
Ah,
So I knew that you were interested in that. So at last I spoke to you that you were thinking of trying to get involved with that, and then
yeah,
that was
I got approached by a company that does documentaries, and they want to do more hockey players. So they want me to be like a liaison between the hockey guys and try to connect them to the company and try to get them on board to do some videos. So that's all up in the air because of COVID. One thing I have been doing the past 2 years is social media marketing. So I've been doing it on the side, like freelance for real estate companies. And I was contemplating like making a small course for athletes, especially for college athletes who can now monetize their own brands. That's a big deal. Might even like spin that off into like a YouTube channel just to share my knowledge for free and help people out, just because that's what I'm all about.
that would be big time for athletes, especially when you're able now that those guys are able to monetize. I mean, like, it's not like a lot of guys in NCAA hockey are going to be making the money that football players are, but you can give yourself some avenues to be successful, to grow yourself as a brand, because what we are brands. Once you're at college level going pro, like, you are a brand, whether you want to admit it or not. But
I think
that's, yeah.
Well, I think, and my biggest reason for that is I didn't leverage my brand anywhere near where I should have or could have. And I was sort of forced out of the game at a younger age than I anticipated. So I don't want players to be in my shoes where you stop playing, you don't have that bridges you could have built with, like, and you don't have to, like, just having a personal brand doesn't mean you have to sell anything, but you can at least set yourself up to do more partnership deals with bigger brands. And you got to look at it more than just doing promotional posts. Like, you're meeting people at these massive corporate companies, and who knows where that could lead down the road once hockey ends. And that's sort of hard to dial into players' minds when they're playing, because they can be very naive, like I was. But it's definitely a lesson that needs to be literally pushed down their throats so they can take full advantage while they're in the spotlight.
When you say you were naive, elaborate on that. What exactly was it that you were naive to?
I think the biggest thing for me is I wasn't willing to really research and learn about how powerful social media could be as an athlete. For example, like when I played World Juniors, I just started Twitter. That's when Twitter was big, and Instagram was, I don't even think it was out yet.
Yeah.
And I was on there a bit, but I think I was more so riddled with fear of just like kind of putting myself out there. And that fear just translated me just saying, like, screw it, I'm just not going to do much social media. And I wouldn't say I regret that, but I kind of wish I explored more avenues. And that's sort of like where I kind of want to be a mentor for some guys if they're interested, to help them through that, because I think you're seeing a big push in sports now where we're seeing a lot of behind the scenes, whether it be like the golf or people dissecting their games in real time on Zoom. And you're seeing guys like Kevin Durant, who normally they're just like the status quo with the media. Now they're putting themselves out there more, and they're chirping people back on Twitter, and they're just being normal human beings. And I think it's empowering them and allowing their true colors to come through even more, which takes their personal brand to a whole new level. And I think personally, as an individual, I think it creates even more confidence in yourself and who you are, and that you don't need to fit in or do what people think you should do just to have a proper image, I guess, on social media.
So that I'm glad you're talking about this, because we've never covered this kind of thing, and this is super important. But you said that you retired early and you were forced out of the game, and we could talk about that as well. But did you take advantage of the networking abilities, not just social media, but just the sheer volume of important people that you can meet when you play hockey? Did you take advantage of that anyway while you played, or is that something you look back in hindsight and be like, damn, I wish I did?
Definitely a bit of both. At the beginning of my pro career, in my early 20s, I was so naive. I didn't really bother to reach out and meet people and like maintain connections. And then after my first major surgery is when I kind of had like an epiphany, I guess, where it's like, wow, I've met so many great people, yet I don't keep in touch or I don't have them on LinkedIn. And when I got to Rockford, that's when that really started. And when I got hurt again there, I just started networking with like people in the suites at the games because that's where I sat. And I met a ton of cool people. I met guys at Midwesterns, like a lot of farming and country rural around where we were playing. So there was a lot of like people that owned cool companies, like manufacturing plants that make like tin toys and like random stuff. Like there's a gum factory, like a Trident gum factory in Rockford. So I met one of the VPs there, and I started keeping in touch with these people. And now I actually put like reminders in my phone like every 6 months to like reach back out and maintain those connections, just because you really do never know when you might need some advice or where your life might take you.
Like that's such an important thing. And so for young goalies listening, even at the junior level and the pro, like you're going to meet so many people. It is hard to stay up to date, but not only will you help develop your skills at being like personable and your speaking ability and interview ability, but you never know what doors or avenues open up in hockey and in life, like by the privilege of being able to play hockey at not only at a high level, but just in general. And like I can speak for myself, like for a while, like I wanted to become a doctor after hockey. And when I played in Florida, there's one of the biggest medical supply companies in the world, Arthrex, was down the street in Naples. And
that's what's in my ankles.
Yeah, so there you go. So one of the guys like really high up in the research and development, his son was a hockey player in the area, and he saw somehow that he knew that was what I wanted to pursue. He's like, hey, come check out the facility. So we go to this hundreds of millions of dollar facility. There's people doing live surgery, like all this stuff. But then I meet all these people and I start talking, and I hear their experience, and they basically say like, they ask me like, what do I want to do? And I explain it, and they're like, no, you don't want to be a doctor. I'm like, what do you mean? And they broke it down and they explained it in a way that I didn't think about it. And then I looked at my own life and what I wanted, what my aspirations were and what like I value. And I was like, man, like maybe I don't want to. And like, if I had never done that, who knows? But just being able, like just having someone reach out and be like, hey, do you want to check out this facility? And, I end up having a change of mind, a change of heart, and it leads me down a different life path.
Mm-hmm. I want to say one more thing, and especially for athletes, whether you're male, female, it doesn't matter. But like when you're playing, you're in the spotlight. Like a lot of those people are fans of the team and of you, and you can take like a huge advantage of that. And one thing I started doing after I stopped playing hockey, not so much during, is I started asking those people if I could job shadow them, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it's kind of ironic. I just love to work and sit down in Starbucks. And I met so many people there. And I met people that owned companies, people that are pretty high up in big corporations, and no one ever said no. They always said, yeah, come on in for like a few hours or come on in for the whole day. And like I learned more doing that, just going in and seeing how they operate in a real business environment, than I think I ever really did in school, to be honest, which is kind of sad. But yeah, like if you're an athlete, my biggest like talk to people, go in, like if you're done practice, you're done mid-afternoon, like go job shadow for the rest of the day. It's a great opportunity, and especially if you can take advantage while you're playing hockey to maybe learn what you're interested in outside of sports.
I think as well as there's like, it's almost taboo in a sense to think about your post-career life. Although we're always thinking, well, for the most part, like we're not all going to play in the NHL and win Stanley Cups and make millions of dollars. And that's just the reality. But although guys like, yourself, you played in the NHL, but you bounced around the minors, I bounced around the minors, like guys like that, we know that we're going to have to get real jobs one day, but it's almost taboo to think about it and to plan. And that's like, when guys go the NCAA route, they go that way just to have that in their back pocket. But even then, if you know you're going to go play pro, like you'd said, you didn't take advantage of it at the start of your career. And I definitely did not, because I was so focused on making it to NHL that nothing else mattered. And so for athletes listening, it's okay to contemplate what you're going to do outside of your career. And if you go on to big millions and never have to worry about it, even better. But for everyone else, like, it's good to have such an idea what you would like, and to kind of find yourself, like, who you are as a person, as an athlete. And then, like you had said, you started to take advantage of it, and you realized what your passion was, so that when you retired, you start to kind of form what you're going to do for, forever.
Mm-hmm. I want to build off one more point that you said there. When you're playing, is sometimes it's hockey, hockey, hockey. And I was given advice. I think I was 19 years old. I was just turning pro by a financial advisor, because I was really interested in the stock market and I wanted to learn more about it. And I remember him saying, "Don't worry about it. Focus on hockey." And I appreciated his advice and I listened at the time, but I look back and I don't agree with that advice at all. I don't think hockey players should be absorbed in hockey 24/7. It's a job once you turn pro, and you need an escape. And to me, like, my escape was learning things about business, and I enjoyed doing that. And I started like my first e-commerce store while I was playing hockey. And that was some of my favorite times while being an athlete, as soon as I got away from the rink, I could apply my same work ethic towards something else that's not even relevant towards hockey. And not only was I like enjoying the work and doing all that, but I was learning a ton and literally giving myself skills to exit the game with, to further prepare myself for life after hockey.
Yeah, that's a great point, because what I was going to say, and you kind of hit on, was if you guys had that mindset when you were earlier in your year and you used kind of the other interests, do you think that would have helped alleviate some of the pressures and kind of the grind of playing like pro hockey? And kind of like what you said, is now it's a job. It's completely different than it was when you were playing junior and kind of moving up. You have that other interest, you can kind of turn the rink off and kind of go in another direction, which may actually help kind of your focus when you are at the rink.
I think you have to have those things, or else burnout becomes a real thing eventually, whether it be a year down the road or 5 years down the road. I look at it like no different job. I think most people in life tend to probably get bored of their job every 10 years or so, I'd say. And hockey can be the same. It's definitely a grind, and it's challenging physically and mentally. And I think we can all admit, if you're going hockey 2-4-7, that burnout can come quicker than anticipated. And you really do need something to keep your mind occupied outside of the game. And you need to really use tools like psychologists to learn how to control your thoughts, whether you're on the rink or you're at home. Like, those people or those tools should be used, especially teams are offering them now for free. Like, I spent thousands of dollars on psychologists over the years because I really believed in it, and it's shaped who I am today. It made a big difference.
I think you're definitely right, Boosh. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for
You say that
other.
a lot.
Yeah, you're right a lot. I can't speak for other athletes, but when hockey becomes a job, it's definitely different. And for me, it was different. But I always had in the back of my mind that if I had to get hip surgery or something serious that ended my career, or it just never worked out, I always knew that there was more to life than hockey. So I never felt too much of that pressure that, like, okay, if I don't perform, like, I'm not going to be able to feed my family and I'm going to be lost. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. So I think, obviously going to school helped some of that. And then additionally, when you go pro, you have so much free time that for me, it drove me crazy how much free time I had. Like, when I graduated, I grinded so hard in school for 4 years that I was like, okay, pro, I'm just going to enjoy it. 2 weeks in, I bought a guitar and like an encyclopedia of books because I was just so bored. I was like, I got to do something, because I didn't play video games. So I can't just spend 12 hours a day sitting staring at the roof or staring at a screen. Like, I need to do something. So I think, and then when you're pro, you're making some of us make a lot, some of us don't. but you're making money and you have free time, you can put that money, like Biz said, he started e-commerce, they started business. Like if that's something that entices you, like you have resources and you have time to do it. Very rarely in your life do you have both time and resources together. Well, yeah, thumbs up. Good answer.
Couldn't agree more.
What would you say your relationship with the game is now? Because a lot of guys, when they're done, resent the game or have mixed emotions about it. So where are you standing?
Yeah, I definitely was burnt out by the end. No doubt about it. I can honestly say I hated hockey. I no longer enjoyed going to the rink. I think there was something about me inside where on the ice it was so frustrating because I wanted to move certain ways and do certain things and I just couldn't. And that drove me insane. And if you do that for a long period of time, like a year, it just builds and builds and builds. And it got to the point where, like, when I came home, I wanted nothing to do with hockey. I think I went 2 or 3 months with even watching a second of hockey. And I remember my friends invited me out to a restaurant to watch a Leafs game. And I remember sitting there thinking, wow, this is like the first time I've watched hockey since I stopped playing. But it took me, I want to say, almost 2 years to really get over that. And I tried doing some coaching, and there was still some pushback deep down inside of me where I wasn't quite ready to get back into that. And that's still sort of there. So it definitely pushed me to my limits, to a point where I definitely resented the game and wanted nothing to do with it. And I've kind of found peace in it now, where all of my friends are still playing. So it's kind of fun because when I talk to them, I have this fresh and new perspective about hockey, being out of it for so long, for over 2 years. And it definitely makes you see things differently than when you did when you were playing. So it's fun to talk to my friends, especially who are playing the NHL and at a high level, like to hear them, they're still in it day to day, and I've been so far removed, but I have these fresh perspectives where I'm like, you need to take advantage of social media. I didn't. You don't want to be in my shoes when you stop playing. And whereas before I never would have spoken like that. But yeah, long answer. I apologize for the long answer, but there's definitely some resent for the game at the end. I cannot deny that.
I'm glad that Booz asked that, because every goalie, I think, or hockey player in general, has a certain level of that once you finally do decide to call it quits. No matter what the terms are, it's such a weird feeling when okay, this is going to be it. This is the last time I see the rink in a competitive, meaningful way. But reflecting on your career, the game that you played in the NHL, we would be remiss if we didn't ask you about that experience.
Yeah, that was special. It was at the end of my second year pro. Mike Smith got hurt, and I got called up for the last month of the season. And it was actually really fun because at the time they were 1 point out of a playoff spot. So there was a lot of hype around the team, a lot of media, and the team was playing good hockey. Unfortunately, they didn't make the playoffs, so I got to start the second last game of the season. And I remember, that was some of the toughest hockey for me, because I was just getting bag skated every day, beyond how I'd ever been bag skated before. It was exhausting. But
so
everything was beat up.
You were kind of like the practice goalie, where like the hurt guys, or like the lower depth chart guys were just like using you. Is that what you mean?
Well, as a goalie, you go out early regardless. You don't have a choice. So you're going to go out half hour early minimum, and then you're going to stay, I'd be on the ice over 2 hours every day, no problem. So I remember playing that game. I could fold my skates in half. They were so worn down. My pads had shrunk because I wore Vons, and I was so uncomfortable in my gear. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to play in the NHL tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I had all that in my mind, and I'm like, too bad, man. You got to play. There's no new skates here. There's no new pads. You got to deal with it, which is kind of pissed me off, to be honest. But I made do with it.
Did you
remember
sleep the night before?
I don't remember. So I must have slept okay. I was still tired from skating so much. I've never slept so good in my life. That whole month I was called up. But I don't usually nap before games, so I couldn't nap that afternoon. I remember the afternoon being very emotional. Like, I'm like, wow, like I've worked so hard, and like this is a dream, and it's now coming true. Like all that hard work for one moment is now coming true. And it was a cool feeling. I was in a hotel just on my own. So yeah, leading up to the game, I was fine. I've never really been one to be that nervous. They had some funny guys in the room, like Keith Yandel before the game. Just he's a funny guy. He's just like the Viz first NHL game, and like the cameras are in the room, and everyone was just laughing. So like he kept the mood light. I think the worst part about it is I let in 2 goals like the first 10 minutes. And I was like, like if when that happens, if one more goes in, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, you know that as a goalie. So we got through the first period, no big deal. Couple of nice shots, but goals I should have had in my mind, as I think we always think as goalies. And then after the first period, I just settled right in, felt really comfortable. The one big difference in the NHL is it's so much more positionally sound, and like you have the best defenseman in front of you. So if like you go play the puck, they're talking to you. Like they're in position, you know where they're going to be. So it was almost easier, like in that sense. Like it was way more structured. And yeah, we ended up losing 3-2. I'll never forget the game-winning goal because we had the puck in the corner. Our guy had it, and I was screaming over, which means go D to D. And he decided to throw it right up the middle to Brent Burns, who took like a half clap, fake slap shot, and it was like a clap pass. And Logan Couture tipped it between his legs, back bar, back door. And I was like, damn, these guys are good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we lost 3-2, but I played really well. I was very happy with how I played. Yeah, like I thought I did great for my first game, and I was super excited because to me, in my mind, I was like, I can play at this level. I just proved it to myself. I think I just proved it to the organization. And I was right at the end of my second season. So to me, I was pretty pumped because I thought maybe I was setting myself up for the following year.
Yeah.
And what happened the following year? People are at the edge of their seats right now. People are gripping the steering wheel on their way to work.
Yeah, the following year, I blew up my ankle in training camp.
Oh.
In Arizona?
Yeah, and I didn't play a game the entire season. I went 18 months without playing a game after my first NHL game.
So talk about your mentality on the way back in after being like the roller coaster that you just described. At the end of my second year pro, I play a game in the NHL. I last all 60. We lose by 1 goal. You know, I'm in your mind. You must be doing this, and then the injury, and then the 18 months off, and then trying to get back into it. What's your mind like at that point?
Yeah, I was definitely excited for a new opportunity. I left the Arizona organization, which I think was mutual. I was feeling pretty good to leave and get a fresh start. And Rockford, Chicago Blackhawks farm team, signed me. And they are a grade A organization. Like as soon as I got there, it was top-notch everything. And you want to talk about a reason why they won 3 cups, like you should see the intensity in their training camps from Jonathan Toews down. Like those guys play to win, even if it's an inter-squad game. So I was super pumped to be in that environment. I went from Arizona, who's a team at the time that struggled to make playoffs, to the Blackhawks, who had just won the cup. So, you know, we did like a cup parade at Notre Dame during training camp, and I was a part of that for some reason. They let guys like me like walk onto the field behind like the big team. So that was really cool. And I knew I was going down to Rockford, no big deal. So I got there, and it was just a lot of excitement just to get a real game under my belt. I played an exhibition game against the Detroit Red Wings, and we won in overtime, which was great. And our first weekend, we had a road trip to San Jose, and I got strep throat. So I couldn't even swallow water. I had to go to the hospital. And I missed our first 2 games on the road. We did San Jose, Stockton, and I didn't even go. I didn't even show up to the rink. They had to get an emergency call up. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I just missed 18 months, and my first impression is not even like being able to dress for the first 2 games of the season. And then I think I went another 2 or 3 weeks without getting a start after that. So it was just a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
Michael Layton, my goalie partner at the time, was just having an unbelievable start to the season. So I finally get my first start, and I got lit up for 7 on 40. Just lit up. It was awful. I'll never forget. It was the third period. It was a 3-on-2 drop pass to like the high guy, and he just ripped an ice burner 5-hole. It was so bad. And I remember my defenseman was stopped next to me, and all you hear is, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah.
So I was just like, wow, great. This is fun. So that was a tough start. And then I waited another 3 weeks to get my next start. It ended up being a 42 save shutout. So that's sort of I call them FU statements, like statements in my career, where as a goalie, you always try to never play 2 bad games in a row. So that was me, and that was my character coming through going, no, like I'm not a 7 on 40 goalie. I'm a 0 on 42 goalie after missing 18 months. So
Nice.
I call those
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That stands out in your mind, I'm sure. That game for sure.
Yeah, those are the games where it's pure mental. Pure mental. And I think as any athlete or any goalie would say, if you don't have the ability to mentally handle the game, you're going to struggle.
Oh, nothing's worse than you get scored on and you hear your defenseman swear.
Yeah, like it doesn't happen often.
No, but when it does,
You think, oh, that must have been real bad then.
that's not good.
It was the 7th goal in a game where like no one wanted to be there anymore, and it was my first game back. Just you jumble all those together, and it's just get me out of here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are trash.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta get you on. I know you have to run. You said you could only be on for about 40 minutes, but
No, I moved my meeting, so it's up to you guys.
You know what, Viz? There is one more thing I want to ask you about.
Yep.
The World Juniors in Buffalo. There was a preliminary game. No, it wasn't preliminary. It was round robin against Switzerland. And I think the opposing goalie was Benjamin Cones, who ended up winning goalie of the tournament that year.
Yes.
And that game, the stands, because it's right next to Canada, were just jammed, right? Like everybody's in a Team Canada jersey except for that one group of Swiss family members over there. And you gave up a goal. It was a really weird goal where like the puck kind of went behind the goal line on the side, and then you kind of went out to play it and then didn't play it. And then he like batted it towards the front of the net, and it went off your skating in the net, and everyone's like, what the fuck? Like,
you have to go down.
I remember this.
So my mentality, like my question there is, what's going through your mind at that point when like, okay, it's Team Switzerland here. It's very likely that we're going to win. It's 1-0. But if we don't win, like I'm never going to live this down. So like, what's going through your mind at that time?
Well, the first part of what you just said was exactly what was going through my mind. I didn't care at all. I'm like, we're going to go score 8 goals. So
yeah,
big deal. It's funny you mentioned that goal because I got eaten alive in the media after the game for that goal.
Yeah.
Yet if you watch the replay, that puck hit my defenseman's skate before hitting my skate and going in. So as a goalie, like a difference of that puck hitting your skate or not is noticeable. Like as soon as that puck leaves the stick, you know where it's going. And it just like kissed his skate enough to where it changed angles and then hit my skate and then went in. So in my mind, I chalk it up as a fluke. I don't chalk it up as a bad goal.
Right.
Which helps me even more bounce back because I don't care.
Yeah.
Like that says nothing about how I'm going to play the rest of this game.
Mm-hmm.
I laugh. Like in my head, I laugh. And I talk to the media who don't see it that way. They see it as a bad goal, and I laugh even more. I'm like, you guys have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I love that. I love
typical,
that.
It's typical media, and it's typical being a goalie. Like there's tons of games where you let in the first shot and then you stop the next 30. Like you just got to remind yourself, like it's not a big deal. And I think one thing I started using later on in my career was I said, listen, like I was always really fast on my feet. That was like my biggest asset. I could move quick. So I said, listen, if I beat a pass, the odds of me stopping it are extremely high. So all I got to do is beat the pass and be set, and I'll be fine. So that was my way of simplifying the game in my head. I'm like, okay, I know I'm tired tonight, or I know I'm sick, or I know I've been traveling a lot, or I didn't sleep. But big deal, I can still T-push as quick as I could last week when I played great. And as long as I'm set for that shot, the odds of it going in are not high. So that was a way for me to simplify the game and simplify the noise around me, I guess. And I think for me, and probably for most athletes, is when you play in front of big crowds, you don't really notice the crowd. Like you're so focused. You're so focused. Like it's World Juniors is different. You can't talk to your teammates on the ice because it's so loud, which creates for even more challenge. But
I really appreciate your mindset. I really like hearing you say that you kind of break down sections of your game and know that if I do this, I give myself a really good chance of being successful. I think that's a huge part of the game and something that younger goalies really need to get in the habit of knowing your game, because you can't do that unless you identify, okay, one of my assets is being quick on my feet. So if I use my strengths wherever I can, I give myself the best chance. That's what, a thing that I always hear Bouge say is, if you don't identify your strengths and work on your strengths, then you have no strengths. So being able to have like a strong mindset like that, to me, it's rooted in not only like preparation, but knowing and understanding your own strengths as a goalie. And they're going to be different for every goalie. So that process that you run through, I think is very, very valuable, very useful.
Mm-hmm. Very simple.
Yeah.
Very, very simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you deal with the media? I guess specifically World Juniors, because the World Juniors did not go the way that you'd wanted it to go. And then now you're under the microscope of the entire country, and the media is ruthless. So and a lot of young goalies listening, you hear the media, you see it, but you don't really understand the swarms that come after the room and how to deal with it. So can you explain, how did you deal with the negative media basically that you received?
Yeah. And I think back then I dealt with it way differently than I deal with it now. Like I was always first to put blame on my own shoulders and deflect the media, but I'll be straight up right now. Like the media, the way they treated me was bullshit. They took every inch and every ounce of air to make me look like the bad guy, and they took it and they did that. And it didn't just stop after World Juniors. It followed me because I still had another year of eligibility under my belt. So everywhere I went, even in the OHL, like when you play World Juniors, they want you to do the post-game interview or the pre-game interview. And I was doing those before or after almost every OHL game after that. And they're asking the same questions over and over, making me look like the bad guy. And it pissed me off, to be honest. Luckily for me, growing up as a kid, I was never an all-star goalie. So I grew up hearing how good all these other goalies were. And what did that do? It pissed me off. So I learned to use that as motivation. So if I'm in the gym or if I'm on the ice working late, I'm using that literal anger inside me to really, I'm better. And it's funny because after my first World Juniors, the media was still there, sort of went away in the summer. It was when the next season started that it crept back in, because now they're paying attention to how your season's going leading up to the next World Juniors. And my start to the year was abysmal at best. It was terrible, and I was playing on the second-ranked team in Canada. I think I started the year 3-7. I fell asleep on the highway driving on cruise control, so I got real lucky. I didn't hurt anybody. I was fine. I actually drifted from the middle lane onto an exit ramp and hit the wall somehow, so I got really lucky. And nothing was going right, and that's when I was forced to work with my first sports psychologist, which was awesome. It was life-changing for me. That's one thing Arizona I was very grateful for, is they flew in a guy for 3 days. And I would go to the rink. After the rink, I'd meet with my psych and spend the entire day and evening with him, just working through everything. And because I'm getting, season starting, I'm 3-7. Now I'm getting interviews going, are you even going to make the team anymore at Christmas time? Like, do you even deserve to be on the team if you're playing like this? I got a call from Don Hay, the head coach of Team Canada, just like asking if I was okay, like ensuring that I was going to be on the team. Then I got to the tournament. I had a great training camp. Like I had it in my mind. I said, I don't care what other goalies are here. I'm going to be the best guy here. I had a great camp. And of course the media is just swarming me about the year before. And it was a big moment for me because I was always kind of shy and like quiet. And before I entered the swarm, myself and our PR guy said, like, I'm not answering any questions about last year. So sure enough, typical media, the first question is about the gold medal game. So I looked at the guy in the eye. I said, if you quote, Google my name. I've answered that 10 times. And I just walked away. So
Nice.
that was me going, leave me alone. I'm here to play hockey and win a gold medal. Don't bother me. So that was sort of like I think as athletes, we have these little situations we come across throughout our careers that are sort of defining in some regard. So that was a big step for me, just to say, you know what, F you. I'm going to go play hockey. And I don't care what you say or what you type about me in the media. It really doesn't matter. So that was a big defining moment for me.
That's like a stand up for yourself moment for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back now, what would you have changed in terms of the media? Because obviously you can't have few moments every night with the media. It just doesn't fly. So now that you're older, you're matured, you've been able to experience different things and a different mindset. Even going back to when the media started hounding you to your FU moment, like, would you have changed it?
Not entirely, no, because I use that. Like, it fueled me. I would be lying if I sat here and said it did me harm, because it really didn't. It gave me a spark. Like I ate that shit up. I'm like, yeah, you want to chirp me? Fine. Like I think after my second World Juniors, I won like 17 games in a row or 15 games in a row. And when I lost my World Juniors, my first one, I came back and won 12 in a row. So like you can kind of see how I took that and what I did with it internally in my mind. And if there's anything I would have changed, I would have stood up for myself more with the media. That's what I would have changed. I just kind of let them come at me, and I just let myself take the blame. Whereas I probably should have stood up for myself sooner than letting it slide almost an entire year to the next World Juniors. That's the only thing I would do different.
Well, Viz, that was a good episode. There were so many things we didn't talk about. We didn't even really talk about hockey. A lot of it was just life afterwards, but we'll definitely have you on a few more times. You'll have to talk about the projects you're involved in, and then we're going to have an episode talking about, your career growing up and just what happened and what led you to be where you ended up being as an athlete. But this was a really good episode, very insightful for a lot of goalies, because we talked about some important things that aren't entirely hockey related, and that is rare. But thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. A lot of fun, and I look forward to the next one. Always happy to join and talk hockey with you guys.